Okie dokie, so I got a bit of a backstory for you. I started working at a cake shop back in 2011 and I worked there for about 5 or 6 years, and my job was doing this. So I would cut and stack and decorate hundreds of cakes a week. It was kind of like production line stuff. I had to wear a really, really flattering outfit as well, as you can see. So basically one day back in 2017, I walked into work and I was told that I didn't have a job anymore because the shop was closing down. So I packed up my stuff and went home and was kind of sat in shock for a bit. Now, a couple of months before this happened, Katie, who's my now business partner, suggested to me that I should leave my minimum wage job and we should start our own business together doing cakes. So the whole thing was really daunting and we didn't even know where to start, but losing my job was the kick up the butt we needed. A month after getting the arse, we had our custom cake kitchen built in my business partner's home. We hit the ground running and we have not looked back since.
Okie dokie, it's time for season 2 Stranger Things cake. Let's go! Just in case you're new here, I am behind on Stranger Things, and as I watch the seasons, I'm going to make a cake for each season. I've already done season 1, and now it's time for season 2. Woohoo! So, in case you need a bit of a refresher, season 2 is all about the mind flayer shadow monster thing that takes over Will. Poor Will, he really has had a rough trot of things, hasn't he? So Will, he kind of becomes a bit of a spy for both sides, and he draws this map that Joyce pieces together and plasters all over her house. So for half the cake, I did the map. The other half is, of course, the shadow monster, Mind Flayer, pure evil. Next up, I had to do something that represented my favourite character, Steve. Good old Steve, he really has stepped up this season. The relationship between him and Dustin was my fave. Adorable! So I decided to make Steve's bat with all the nails in it, and after adding a whole heap of edible dirt, I stuck the bat on at an angle, as you can see. Now, the dirt on top is representing the pumpkin field that Hopper digs the hole in. So I, of course, dug a hole in the top and added some rotting pumpkins. And there you have it, all done my Stranger Things Season 2 inspired cake. I think it turned out pretty cool. And I got to tell you, I'm super excited about Season 3. I haven't started watching it yet, but I promise I'll try not to take too long. And, you know, friends don't lie. Okie dokie, hokey pokey. This is a little part 2 to the video that I posted yesterday. Now that the cake is all covered in pink buttercream, it's time for the piping on the top. I didn't bother spending too much time smoothing out that top surface because I knew the entire thing was going to be covered in piping. I'm using more of the same pink as well as this sort of minty green aqua colour. This cake was for, obviously, an 8-year-old's birthday. And it actually has some matching cupcakes, which I'll post a video on those another time. And honestly, it had been so long since I'd done a cake like this with all the different piping. But I found it really fun and kind of therapeutic. Now, it's not very helpful, but I don't really know the numbers of the piping tips that I used. Except for the big rosettes, those were done with piping tip 2D. Now, you can see that the theme of this party was Barbie, which is why there is an excessive amount of pink on this cake, which I'm not complaining about because it is my favourite colour. And I absolutely love how this turned out. Those little mini chocolates are so adorable. Okie dokie, artichokey. I've got a bit of a confession to make. I'm not up to date on the Stranger Things. I've only watched season 1. So I thought I would do something a little bit different. I'm going to make a cake for each season as I watch the series. So this is obviously my season 1 cake. I've done a black cake, red drip, that's like the blood, and I flipped it upside down because of the upside down, like, duh. I really like how the drips are going up. It just looks really cool. Next up, I cut this section out of the cake because I just wanted to create a little bit of a crevice. I added some black piping and then the Demogorgon. The Demogorgon being the main baddie monster of season 1. I had to do it. If anyone's interested to see how I made him, I can do another video on that. But here I am just adding on his arms and he looks really creepy. Final thing to go on was, of course, all of the teeth. And that's it. I was so happy with it and I'm just getting into season 2 now. So stay tuned for my season 2 cake. And I apologise for not being up to date. Okie dokie. So recently I made a rainbow cake and it went kind of viral. So I thought, why not try and do something similar using a Woolies mud cake. A Woolies mud cake hack coming at ya. So first up, you cut your mud in half, straight down the middle, and then you squish the two sides together, like so. You want to make sure that chocolate icing is facing inwards. Next up, you just cover the whole thing in icing. Does not have to be neat. I then grabbed a bag of family-sized M&Ms. You could also use Smarties, of course. And then I just covered the entire cake in the M&Ms. I was going for a rainbow effect, so I put them in the order of red, orange, yellow, green, and blue. And I literally just continued it over the entire thing until it looked like that.
Now, you can probably just leave it as is if you like, but I wanted to go that little step further. So I grabbed some marshmallows and placed them around as the clouds. I added a little bit of piping and some hundreds and thousands to finish it off, and bam! Okie dokie, guess what? I am so excited to announce that over the next few days, I'm going to be showing you guys 6 amazing cakes to celebrate Disney Plus Day, which is coming up on September 8th. Each cake is going to celebrate a different brand on Disney Plus and some of the new content being released. So basically, it's a Disney Plus extravaganza, guys. If you can't already tell, our first cake celebrates one of the most iconic families ever, which is, of course, the Simpsons. I saw at the start of the video that I made the Simpsons couch, which I feel like is a character in itself. I mean, it's pretty much in every episode. And of course, the couch wouldn't be complete without Homer Simpson. I got to say, turning a 2D character into 3D was really tough, but I loved the challenge. Seriously, so much nostalgia with this show. I grew up watching The Simpsons, and it's crazy how many episodes there are now. And there's a new short coming out on Disney Plus Day called Welcome to the Club, which I'm seriously looking forward to. Finishing touches, I added some donuts, and I could not forget his hair. And there you have it. My Simpsons themed cake for Disney Plus Day is complete. I think I captured Homer's essence pretty well. Now all that's left to say is, woohoo! Okie dokie, let's make a wedding cake. So first up, I've got a 9-inch cake. This is the bottom tier of a 3-tiered cake. I have placed it on a 14-inch board, and the reason I've done such a large board is because it's going to have quite a big floral arrangement down the bottom. You can see I've done a crumb coat, and now I'm doing the second coat. I guess you could call that a sort of sandy nude colour. And if you're wondering how I actually got this colour, I mixed 2 colours together from the Colour Mill range. I mixed clay and rose. Moving on to the second tier, this is a 7-inch, and I'm going to cover the entire thing in white buttercream. So I did a crumb coat and a top coat. I then chucked that cake in the chiller to get really firm before using this mesh stencil from Caking It Up. These particular stencils are super fine and you almost can't see them on camera. But in person, they look so beautiful and delicate, and it just worked perfectly for this design. Now, I didn't show me covering that top tier in buttercream because it was just a plain white, but it is a 5-inch, and now I'm ready for the florals. Stay tuned. Okie dokie, and good afternoon, guys. I've got a fresh cake video to show you today. I have done a few rainbow cakes in my time as a cake decorator, but I've never done one like this. I started out with a 10-inch round cake, cut it straight down the centre, and then stacked the 2 halves on top of each other. I then turned the cake up on its side and popped it on a cake board, covered the whole thing in white buttercream, which is just a crumb coat to prepare my cake for the piping. Speaking of the piping, I'm using piping tip 8B, and following those lines that I roughly marked in on my cake, I piped my rainbow piping. I started off with purple down the bottom and pink up the top, and I also covered the entire top of the cake in the pink as well. Seriously, it's so effective, and I am not even finished yet. Once all the colours were done, I piped some clouds around the base of the cake, also added some beautiful sprinkles, and to finish it off, a handmade fondant Care Bear. This is, of course, the birthday bear, and it is the cherry on top of my rainbow cake, I reckon. Okie dokie, so this one didn't originally have a voiceover, but I just wanted to jump in real quick because it's me lighting a sparkler from the bottom. 17.2 million views, our second highest viral video. I even got asked to come on the radio to talk about this. I was so shocked by that. Most people had one of 2 reactions, either complete shock and mind blown like I was, and everyone else was like, yeah, duh, how could you not know about that? And now it's time for our most viral video on TikTok. Okie dokie and g'day guys, I'm a little bit excited about this one, the behind the scenes of the Kmart coffee cup. Just in case you missed it, I made a cake of a Kmart coffee travel mug thing, took it into Kmart, ate it in front of a cashier. It's in the previous video if you want to watch it. But in this video, you're going to see how I put it all together, and also the moment that I put it on the shelf, which was actually kind of funny. So you saw earlier on in the video, I used cookie cutters to cut my cake out, stacked it with chocolate ganache because I had some left over from another cake, and then just carved it to shape, covered it in ganache and fondant. Now, I just want to point out that I colour matched this fondant to one of the proper mugs so that it would just blend in seamlessly on the shelf, and I was really proud of my colour matching. You can see I've added the ivory lid as well as the little pink bit that you push up to drink from the cup. And then the final thing to go on was the little grippy piece that goes around the middle. Now that the cake was all done, it was time to go to Kmart. We got a lot of footage in there, so let me know if you want more, but here's just a little sneak peek.